Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between and all over the world, welcome to a crucial matchup here in the mixed division of the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships in Logroño, Spain. I'm Lorcan Murray, and it's my distinct pleasure and privilege to be joined by Becky Thompson. We are watching GB Mix take on Netherlands Mix, bit of an all-European affair. Becky, what's the tale of this game?
Well, Lorcan, GB looking to bounce back from a tough loss against Singapore earlier in the day. Meanwhile, the Netherlands looking to carry their momentum into the business end of the tournament as they head into power pools.
You can see Netherlands 2-0. Those are against Hong Kong, China and Colombia. Singapore taking a big win over Great Britain, as you just said, as well as picking up one against Colombia. So you can imagine with the top three going through, it's going to be a real battle between those ones. Great Britain need to get this win back on the board to have a hope of going in without being the bottom seed in those crucial power pools. But in order to do so, they're going to have to come over a lot of experience. We've got that woman herself, Franke Ten Kata, who's got oodles of experience coming up through that RUT youth system, played at the highest level for a long time, European Championships, represented Netherlands before, and really can be a steadying force for this elite orange arsenal.
Meanwhile, on the GB side, look out for Rana Saren, 21 years old, only been playing for just over 3 years, Lorcan, but already a member of the Clapham Ultimate Club team out of London, and has been a very dominant offensive cutter for this GB Mix team. So look for him to make big shapes and really make things happen for this mixed squad.
And if you'd like to see the action for the rest of the week, remember, this game is brought to you for free on YouTube, but if the rest of them are available in only one place, and that is with Ultiworld. So make sure you subscribe to the website, look at the pass, and all that great content. Is the best place in the world for Ultimate. So thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you here. As you can see, the Netherlands, Orange Boom, waiting on the line. I'm waiting for offense. Here we go. Big time matchup, fielded confidently. And the Netherlands are off to business almost immediately. Hansma. And you can tell they've got those blades, they've got those hammers. They're not afraid to throw some outlandish stuff, but sometimes a bit too high. Yet Barduel not able to get that one. And a big stat getter already for this Dutch side.
Yeah, Leon Holmes there coming down with the block. That one just popping over the head, and Holmes saw that all the way, able to put it down to the ground.
So GB with a chance for an early break, and they're not going to hold anything back, launching one deep, and all they're going to find is a flying Dutchman. That's Levi Gasbeek with the block.
Yeah, Gasbeek there, just reading that one all the way, always in front of the receiver. I think maybe not the option that this team wanted to go for. You could see the idea, the concept there, but a defender always in that space. So maybe something that GB will want to think about, being aware of those deep poaches.
So another chance for the Netherlands, and they want to send a huck right back. We've got a shooting gallery here for the fans at home. And nicely defended again. Really great heads-up play. I think it was Emily Barker coming across to get the crucial block. Nope, forgive me, that was Leanne Holmes, who gets a second one.
Holmes with her second block of this point already, and of this game. First point here opening, and both teams not quite settled into their rhythm, Lorcan. We've seen turns going both ways, both of them maybe a little bit huck happy to start this game.
So, centering pass, it's nice to see one of those. It's got a couple of completions on the board and try and get a bit of patience back into this side. GB. Well run by the Singapore outfit earlier, so we'll see how much their energy levels kick up. Grinding it out. Far sideline, it's another huck going up. 3 orange bodies. And a foul is going to be called by Chris Barrett. Calling it on Ime Hansma. Try and have a little bit of an eavesdrop here for you folks.
It's a foul. Retract.
So the foul call is retracted. And the turnover will stand. Again, a bit of a dubious deep shot.
Yeah, I think, Lorcan, maybe we're seeing a little bit of nerves on this first point from these teams. Obviously, they've already settled into this tournament, but a crucial game for both of them. Playing a little bit loose. Like to see both of these teams just tighten up a little bit as this game progresses.
So the reset. Van den Brink leads, but it just bounces, and it's almost rescued on the other side. There are nerves chattering all across this pitch. There's the leading pass, bit of a battle in the end zone, and it's taken down with authority. Chris Barrett gets the first score, 1-0, Great Britain.
Barrett with a big grab on that one. Lorcan, I wasn't sure about the fast start off that turnover. I thought there was a really good chance, after all the turns that we'd seen in this point, for GB to walk over the disc and actually set up their end zone set. But on that play, they decided, no, not a chance. We're going to keep playing the way we've been playing so far in this point. And Barrett coming through with a big grab, as we'll see a couple of the miscued hucks here. That one with the defender just always in the deep space and going straight back the other way. So a little bit of a huck fest. I feel like started maybe a bit shaky here, Lorcan. Be interesting to see how these teams tighten up.
I don't think it's sustainable for either side, as you see, almost rescued after the bobble. And normally I'm an absolutely huge fan of people rushing to the disc to pick it up, especially if those people involve Catherine Flavel. Very assured. And in the end, trusting the receivers. So that's a big one for the D-line. And honestly, it leaves a couple of questions. That can't have been how the Dutch wanted to come out and play their offense.
No, I think this Dutch team, we know that they've got a good huck game. We do know that. But I think they would have wanted to come out and be a little bit more clinical in the first point of this game to really set the tone going forwards.
We'll see how they respond. There's a good measure of experience on this Dutch side. They look to get things going and get on the board. Side stack to start off once again. Barduel. So central to so much of the Dutch success so far. Quick swing out. Birli Jansen misses Tenkate, sends it into the ground, and GB with a chance for another break. They are, oh no, there seems to have been a violation.
Seemed like quite a late foul call there, Lorcan, coming a little bit after the play by Birli Jansen. See if we can listen in here.
And I wasn't.
So, I think you faked, she fouled you, and you decided to throw.
So as you heard there, her teammate, Jansen's teammate, coming in explaining that there was a foul earlier on the force, but on the actual throw that Jansen released, there was no contact and it should stand as a turnover. Had Jansen called that foul when it had actually occurred, this would be a different story, but chose to still make the throw, and I think this was a good outcome. Some very good spirit shown by the Dutch players.
We've expected no less as Lawrence gets things going right in the opposite direction. Gets it to Lowe. Lowe forced to send it back to Lawrence. No one else able to get free against the Dutch pressure. Lawrence with the dump back. Rina Chang. Again, Dutch on every shoulder, in every pocket. And that is going to stand. Excellent stuff. Wiebe Vandenbrink going horizontal, getting the block on Tayo Lowe.
Vandenbrink was tracking that from about 30 yards away, almost wanting, begging for that throw to go up. Getting a huge block and great field position here for the Netherlands.
Who, let's remember, are on offense. Big throw, near sideline, trying to force it front corner, and it's right there. Tenkate showing that experience, showing that leadership, and helping tie this game up. 1-1.
It's not a goal. I didn't hit. What did you guys think?
Maybe not. Won't call a goal if it's not a goal.
No. I don't make an opinion on it. If you guys have a call to make the call.
I was over there. I thought her foot, not that. I thought her foot down and actually called it. I'm well open to perspective. Yeah. I just need perspective on the sideline.
Sounds like the GB players here, Lorcan, just thinking that catch was actually slightly out of bounds by landing on the line, but going to the sideline to get a different perspective on it. Tenkate just keeping her toe, I think, just in bounds. I can understand why the GB player may have had a question about the call, but listening to the sideline perspective, who might have had a better view than he did.
and establishing straight away. Understandable, that's the right thing. Take the call, retract it. The Dutch get on the board and tie things up. Could you talk us through, I think a couple of people might be surprised to see the Netherlands seeded 17th.
The Netherlands seeded 17th would definitely surprise a few people, but didn't send a mixed team to the last Under-24 World Championships in Nottingham. They did send an open team. They had the likes of Anne Menard featured on that open team, who was unbelievable. And it's great to see them here now, though, with a mixed team, able to give more opportunities to their incredible FMP players to play in this tournament. As you just see the massive layout there again from Vandenbrink before Bardowell able to find Ten Kata in the end zone. And fabulous for these players who didn't get the opportunity in Nottingham to come play, didn't have a women's team either. Sending a mixed team, the best of both gender on the pitch here for the Netherlands. It's just great to see.
I would advise anybody interested in teaching how to do dump cutting to go back to 2023 and watch Anna Menard absolutely roast people for a week straight. Some of the best dump cutting I've seen, honestly, probably since Kelly Johnson. Now, we are looking at GB O-line for the first time in this game. Let's see what they can do.
The Netherlands coming down in a zone. They've got a couple different pistons on the cup there, and it works. They were forced to go really, really wide with that swing, and that's what caused the turnover. The reset shut out by one of the Dutch marks.
So the Netherlands D line looking to get served right back. It's an isolation front of the corner, but just a little bit too much zip on that disc. It goes to Sarin. Sarin thinks about launching one. Was slightly more conservative for now. Rose Harvey, very impressive in the game against Singapore, if I do say so. Jack Slater, back to Harvey. Slater, finding a bit more joy against his own huge hammer all the way over the top, and ever so slightly too far ahead from Anna Fries.
Could see the vision there, Lorcan. Fries was wide open, the deep not covering her at all, but that throw, just too much speed on it. I think Jack Slater probably could have just thrown a huck rather than opting for the hammer on that situation, but as we were saying in the first point of this game, this GB mixed team starting off with quite loose flowing offense. We want to see them maybe just tighten that a bit, walk it up the field and have a really good clinical hold.
Seems like both these O-lines happy to come out here and gun it to start off the game. Take a couple of chances, see what comes. So right now, the Netherlands with a chance to get this break back, their second of the point. And it starts with an isolation immediately in front of the cutter. Nice work, able to find Henroy. Henroy, beautiful backhand break into Cowmans. Cowman's bit too much sit on that for the first handler, but exactly what was needed to get it to Schneider. Schneider back in and across, although there seems to be hands up again for another violation, so I don't think Wittgen will get to hold on to that.
Yeah, a pick called in that space. You can see where there's a few players who were clumped into the near sideline. Looks like they're just establishing who needs to come back to get in position now.
Tell you that you caught the disc and then the pick occurred. Does that help? What stall do you want to come in on? Okay, we're coming on one.
All right, Wittgen will get to retain possession, center position. Isolation downfield. Oh, I do wonder, will that be an undercut? It is an immediate undercut from Hermans. Instead, the swing out to the far sideline. Zhu. Initially, it seems like her dead receiver had run away, but fortunately, Wittgen was there to collect. And Wittgen leading a bit too high into some of these errant throws. Not quite what they're looking for. Henroy did his damnedest. And there's a shot straight to the end zone. GB are done fooling around. They want the goal. Ben Skelton with the collection.
No surprise there, Lorcan. GB opting for another long pass to the end zone. But that one, I think a much better executed throw. It had a nice low angle on it. Just lead it out perfectly in front of the receiver of Skelton. I think the Netherlands on that point as well, Lorcan, they had a really good chance to break, but their cutters just continually drifted deeper and deeper and deeper throughout the course of the point, making it really hard for the handlers to connect with them, resulting in a more difficult pass that just popped up and over the head of the intended receiver, and GB immediately shooting to Skelton to get what was a hold.
Which I think is important to keep in mind. So that is 2 turnovers apiece. The difference being the Dutch offense had 3 turnovers on their opening point. So Great Britain trying to marshal the troops and put a bit more pressure. They recognize the Dutch are there for turning.
Yeah, these two teams did play each other in a warm-up tournament in Padova, Italy earlier this year as well, with the Netherlands taking that game by, I believe, only 1 point as well. So speaking to the coaches before this game, they were expecting a close, tight battle. These two teams, I think, quite evenly matched, potentially, Lorcan.
Well, where else would you want to be as we wind up this Monday at the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships? The Netherlands. It's another massive huck deep, because of course it is. Looking to the end zone, support arriving, but it doesn't matter. Tenkate takes it down.
Such impressive work from Tenkate to track that all the way. It was fading over her head to the left, and she was able to get her body in front of the defender of Leanne Holmes, who already has 2 blocks in this game as well. But mostly, Lorcan, I want to credit the rest of the Dutch cutters who cut under and allowed Tenkate to have that isolation space completely to herself. You can see the 2 other players, Barduel there, making under movements, allowing Tenkate to have that space all to herself. And even though GB tried to peel off and help on the defense, that disc was always belonging to Tenkate.
Yeah, Georgie Jones trying to come there in support, but Tenkate, all that experience, all that ability, but as well as that, all that composure, just able to recognize what's happening. And you could see she came on, she wasn't on that first point. I imagine she'll be on every O-line following it. Yes, of course, that in Dutch is a popular celebration from the school show. As you see, the synchronized clap from the GB side. Just sitting under it, waiting to collect it. Noah Brinkworth is going to be in that linchpin position. You see the Dutch seem to have switched to match defense though, trying to force the GB cutters under. Big swing! Lots of pressure arriving in the form of Anke Plo, but going to be a bit of conversation about it.
I think my initial reaction to that, Lorcan, is there was some contact, but I think it was after the play. I think there was a drop and a bit of a bobble first off the hands of the GB player, and the contact may have come a little bit after that. So for me, I'm not sure it affected the outcome. Get another look at it here. Close one to call. I can see where the call is coming from, but that disc, a bit of an errant pass, not really to an open receiver.
But it will go back. Again, very close.
I like the change of defense here from the Netherlands as well, Lorcan, not letting this GB team get comfortable with anything, not allowing them to set up for what they might expect to be coming.
That's what's coming. There's a big shot deep once more, looking to the end zone and looking for that man himself, Rana Sarin.
Rana Sarin streaking deep to the end zone. Incredible grab from him under pressure there, and no surprise to see GB with another hot goal, Lorcan. And of course, it's Rana Sarin, the Clapham player, coming down with it.
With a few rookies. Beautiful throw as well. Right into a place where Moses' receiver can get it. Steps in, flick. Sarin just picking a pocket on the top shelf. Fantastic throw. So a bright future ahead of a lot of these players. You've got to imagine they'll be matching it up for quite a while. Jack Slater with the brilliant assist, the second Huck assist that he's had so far in this matchup. Clearly a fan of Arsenal. He's out there as a gunner. I can hear you looking at me, Becky.
I was thinking about how I wanted to react to Lorcan, to that one, Lorcan, and I couldn't think of anything, so I decided it was better to stay quiet.
Ooh. That's a life lesson I should take on board sometime. As right now, that is an offside call. I don't know how you feel about them. I love them.
I love them too. I think sometimes as a defense, though, I would counter-argue that every now and then setting up your defense on a static play at the brick mark can actually be really beneficial depending on what defensive look you've called. I think with whiff diff rules, when the disc goes out of play, if it lands out of bounds on the pole, it comes to the brick mark anyways, and sometimes there's a little bit of benefit to a static start rather than allowing the other team to be in flow.
As right now the Dutch looking to get some of that flow going from their static start. Nice little bit of give-go. Hansma then wants to send it. Battle in the end zone. Phenomenal Sky.
I'm speechless, Lorcan. I think that is the exact same place that Saren just made his grab, and the Dutch said, whatever you do, we can do it as well. And this has turned into a little bit of a huck fest here.
Gasbeek with the brilliant grab. I think everybody out there's decided, look, we're on YouTube, it's free, showcase game, everybody's going to be watching, let's make up names for ourselves. Sitting in, and it's another big flick throw out of the hands of Ime Hansma. And right into the clamps, Leve Gasbeek. I hope the Dutch will forgive me for not always getting that correctly. So back, tied up at threes, but bear in mind, the Dutch did start on offense. So Great Britain in the driver's seat right now.
Yeah, GB up one break here. Their O-line back out on the pitch. We haven't seen clean points from these teams yet, so it'll be good to see if they can come out here and be a little bit more clinical. This is the 3-3 mark just before the heat break as well, so it would be good to maybe see this GB team go in and get a really nice quick point to maximize the amount of rest this O-line can get off the pitch.
Commons with the pull. Drifting, and landing out of bounds. So Brinkworth will call for it. Take it at the brick mark. Looks like that's Rose Harvey. Sliding into the sport position. As well as Saren. I don't know too much about him, obviously a young player, but I just kind of assumed he was more of a cutter.
I think definitely a little bit of a hybrid player. Very versatile, able to do it on both sides of the disc, on both ends of the pitch.
So here's the quick throw out to the sideline. Brinkworth loves breaking, a little unorthodox with his throws. Well, that's part of his charm. Skelton across to Saren. Once again, Harvey appears as the release valve. Big layout, saving possession. The flying form of Tim Gower. Sparing some blushes, shall we say. Saren can't get that quick swing into the middle off quick enough. Harvey rushes up, can't jump past the front jaws of the zone though. Very active mark, trying to get it to Brinkworth. Brinkworth dodging, ducking, diving to get free. Saren plays again. Brinkworth getting thrown open. He stopped that dump cut. Saren said, no, I need you to keep going. Brinkworth obliges. Back to Saren. GB getting a little bit lackadaisical at times. There's the swing across. Somehow Brinkworth holds on to it and he immediately calls a timeout. I gotta tell you, that makes sense to me. It was looking loosey-goosey out there.
I have so many different thoughts on that timeout call, but you see him there almost roll his eyes in exasperation. He knew that he almost dropped that disc. They know that they want to get this clean hold here as well. So, you know what? I think on this occasion, I like that call.
Another look. That's Gower saving the blushes of Saren, and Brinkworth, saving his own blushes, really.
I think Lorcan, he looked like he almost wanted to get up and thought, you know what, I've taken a pretty hard hit after that catch. Please give me a second. I'm going to call the timeout.
And now marshalling the troops for this O-line just outside of the end zone. Like you say, really big moment. I've said it a few times over the course of this tournament, but with these heat breaks at 4 and 12, it's hard not to imagine the game divided into quarters. And being able to take that first lead into that first heat break is significant. course, the only benefit of carrying the lead in comes at halftime. So what will the Dutch do?
I think it looks like to me that GB are going to try to set up an isolation at the front of the stack. I think they might look to share a little bit on that first cut. It's a little bit harder in mix with the mismatch of genders potentially, but they'll look to stop that first isolation. GB might need to look to Saren in the reset space.
Oh, it definitely seems like a clamp on Slade at the front of the stack. Brinkworth immediately looks to Saren, isn't going anywhere else with that disc. Saren with a little bit of an Olay and an air bounce. Brinkworth to finish, looking and bouncing off the hands of Ben Skelton. The chance goes begging.
I think just a little bit rushed on that throw from Brinkworth there, Lorcan. Had the open player and Skelton running, just could have taken a second longer to make that pass.
First seconds tend to go by awfully quickly when you're on that hot pitch down there. The day may be almost over, but this game is just getting started as the reset goes to Witcomb. Witcomb sends it down the line. It's quick action from the Dutch. Pop passing and overthrowing Henry. Maybe they should have kept to the Hucken. To Brinkworth. Picking it up. And immediately goes for a launch, looking for Saren downfield. And he reads it to perfection. That man is literate.
Saren doing it again here as you see Brinkworth celebrating with the camera, taking the camera from our cameraman Lolo there, having a great time. And Saren making his mark on this game, Lorcan. He's shown that he's been able to be a bailout option when needed. GB didn't have a lot of flow going. You saw in that one, Brinkworth just rushing the throw just a little bit. He could have taken his time with that one. And on the same vein, Netherlands also just missing the execution on their play.
Well, we'll see how this game progresses, because there's going to be lots more shots to come. Great Britain 4, Netherlands 3.
The 2025 club season is upon us, and Ultiworld is bringing you all the action. Ultiworld is the best place for live video, news, highlights, and analysis of your favorite teams and players. Make sure to subscribe for our extensive live coverage of the USAU club season, including the thrilling club championships in San Diego in October, exclusively on Ultiworld.
Welcome back, everybody, to the OK Corral. To the Under-24 World Ultimate Championships. I can be forgiven for mistaking them because it's a gunfight right now. We see big shots in every single direction. That man himself responsible for the most recent one, Noah Brinkworth. Sometimes cameraman, full-time handler for this JB mixed side. Coming into the second quarter, the Dutch need to win it 5-3 in order to maintain their serve, which they started the game with. What would you like to see them adjust?
I think this Netherlands team, Lorcan, just needs to tighten up on their execution. They have had so many moments of looking like they are in control of this game, and they've been making their own errors rather than GB getting the block. So I think it's in their control to change the momentum.
Let's see how they get things started. It's a quick sweeping cut right into the center of the pitch. And a big grab by Tenkate, but in this game those are the only kind she's been making. Quick throw across to Barduel. Stall count getting high. High release backhand in response. Vandenbrink leads right outside the end zone. Janssen, Tom Janssen, no relation to the more famous Janssens. Vandenbrink swings across, Barduel. Janssen cuts from the center of the stack, gets there despite the bidding form of the GB defender, and a nice smooth finishing throw. Gasbeek with the goal.
It looked like the Great Britain team there, Lorcan, was trying to share in the end zone, trying to pass off players between them, and maybe just a little miscommunication that led to that goal.
It's one of those really effective aspects in the end zone if you can clamp down, provided the team doesn't really know how to best it. As you can see there, the big save from Tenkate, leading from the front. Times even leading from the floor with those layouts to save possession. And the quick fire continuation from the front of stack. A lot of the times I think the job of the defense is to set up one opportunity for you to make a play and get the block. And that is kind of what GB achieved there. That layout bid, it was about a 30% chance it comes off, but at the highest level you take those.
Yeah, absolutely. You take the chances you get. I think for GB, they've got the turns off this Netherlands team. They just need to keep working on that defensive intensity and continue to grind out these points. They're gonna have opportunities. We've seen it. It's not so much the defensive pressure as much as it is the offensive execution, and I think that sentiment very much goes for both of these sides.
I would like to say they cleaned it up. They cleaned it up a little. That one pass to Tenkate was somewhat errant. So here comes big pull. Lilu Levistro. Catch by Jack Slater, and there's the swing across. Sarin. Big break. Looking around, finding Gower. Cuts to the end zone. Gower throws it back into the middle instead. Fries doesn't want to take on that break. Or that one. Looking to lead. Pressure. And it smashes the disc down. Fantastic defense pressure across the pitch. Ultimately the block does go to Plo. But that was mounting. That was help defense off the stack. But the Dutch don't seem to want to play offense too long themselves. Quick opportunity for the response, and GB take advantage. Eve Robertson did not want to wait around, immediately finding Tim Grower for the score.
Yeah, Liviestro there was the reset for the Dutch handlers, and just didn't look like she was ready to receive the disc. Maybe wasn't expecting to be looked at so early in the stall count, and giving GB an opportunity on the doorstep to get another hold. Still no clean holds here, Lorcan, for this GB team, so some more execution to clean up, but nonetheless getting themselves in with a goal here.
So all that work, all that effort, and then, like you said, just an execution error. Brilliant defense, originally clamping and pulling out to help on the leading pass dump swing. And Gower was actually that free because his match marker had taken off, just assuming Livestro was going to catch that disc, and just gone deep. Eve Robertson, opportunism at its best. And really good to see Eve Robertson getting involved on that point, Lorcan. We've seen this GB team maybe struggle a little bit to connect on their O-line to their FMP cutters upfield, so really good to see them getting a little bit more involved. I think the Dutch have been a bit stronger at that, and if GB can use more of their players on the O-line, that could really benefit them going forward. As the Dutch streaming down the pitch almost to halfway. Big gains from big cuts. Barduel sends it under. Nicely taken and quickly finished. That was very impressive from the Dutch. Winds up in the hands of Gasbeek, but goes through several players. The assist ultimately going to Virla Janssen.
That is the nicest offensive point that we have seen so far in this game, Lorcan. Very clean, good shapes, creating space for each other, one clear option at a time. Really impressive stuff from the Netherlands.
And all open side, all really well timed. As soon as the catch, you can see it here, you catch, you turn around, there's going to be an open cutter. Janssen able to get the assist in that instance, but it really did feel like it could have been any one of the 7 on that Dutch side.
Wing, mark, short deep, mark, deep, split.
A little bit of eavesdropping, and now we know what the Dutch are about to do, playing a zone.
The Dutch rotating through different defensive looks here, Lorcan. I think it's been really interesting to see. We haven't seen the same look too many points in a row. I think they're really keeping GB on their toes, not allowing them to settle into their offensive rhythm, and I think that has actually been benefiting them quite a bit.
They've certainly disturbed the GBO line, but never really dislodged them. Still searching to get that break back. Brinkworth. Slater. Back to Brinkworth. Seems like a pretty typical cup. 3 people. And right now it's just all Brinkworth and Slater finding those gaps in the middle. Siren comes back to get involved. Seen a delicate backhand bounce pass earlier on. Now he's going for a radical high release flick. Brinkworth climbs the ladder to pull it down. Pops it back to Siren. Bit of a showman, wanted the scuba. Think of the forward influence perhaps playing in Clapham. Swings out to the far side. Eve Robertson got the last assist. Siren tries to go up the line. Eve goes back to Brinkworth right in the centre. To the chest, Brinkworth wants to lead. Siren unmarked, lost his man in the woods and finds the disc in the clouds. 6-5.
Eve Robertson really set up that play for me, Lorcan, by slowing down the tempo, recognizing that she didn't have a force on her. She didn't have to rush to make a decision. She looked off Saren going up line, swung instead to Brinkworth, and that up line cut from Saren continued all the way into the end zone. So really good patience there from Robertson to make that happen.
And there's the inside out high release flick that worked technically. I don't think many coaches are going to encourage you to go for that one a second time. But at the end of the day, I think at this level, when you're playing that well with Siren, sometimes confidence bleeds into hubris, but you don't want to dampen the confidence in an attempt to avoid the hubris. Like,
you need a little bit of both. There's got to be a bit of a balance.
Right now it's all working out. Noah Brinkworth giving a little shout out to the booth. I wonder who he's talking about there. 2 assists. I, of course, am objective and have no feelings one way or the other about that young person. He does seem like a good lad, though. Siren, very important so far. 3 goals. We were talking about him before this game, Becky. Big things ahead of him.
Definitely big things ahead of him. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface, I think, with Saren. Again, only playing for just over 3 years, already competing at a World Under-24 Ultimate Championship, and 3 goals out of the 6 here for Great Britain. Really impressive stuff.
That is another offside called. That's 2. Perhaps part of the game plan. I mean, not setting up, it's a slight bit of a clamp against the 2-5. There's the split, looking for the deep shot out of it. Great awareness, almost rescued, but Barduel couldn't help the possession, couldn't get those cuticles around the edge of the disc, and instead it's a turnover. A lovely little split stack play, but I'm not sure Barduel knew she was supposed to go deep rather than under. Slight miscommunication. Now GB with a chance to get a break. And it's been a little while. That Dutch offense was growing into the game very impressively. See how this GB D-line can do. Fantastic throw. That's Robinson who had the throw, big grab. And now we see Pickup, disc middle of the pitch. Wow, ever so slightly off centre. And throwing it directly into the running form of Wiebe van den Brink. And he wants to put a big one up. Challenge in the air, perhaps? No. Clap, catch, collect, comfortable. And another airy pass. We've got a bit of a battle. No, Van den Brink goes tall, strong, and assured.
Stares down Barrett a little bit after that pass as well. I think Barrett probably a little bit frustrated on the offensive movement upfield. He just slowed down, looked a little bit tired maybe in the lanes, and stopped his movement, allowing the run through D to come through and going back all the way the other way. This one, the initial block from Georgie Jones, causing the turnover on Barduel. And then this, Chris Barrett just for some reason stopped his cut, maybe didn't think the disc was coming anymore, and wasn't able to catch up on this play. as you see Van den Brink just staring him down. That's a bit cold there, Lorcan.
I gotta tell you, it might be hot on the pitch, but it's cold in his veins, and that's what I like to see. Maybe I'm alone in that regard. Some people want spirit everywhere. That's competition. Spirit is the ability to have that and still respect your opponent, and that's what sets us apart. It's not the fact that we're all friends with each other, it's the fact that we genuinely respect each other, and that impacts how we treat each other.
I couldn't agree more. I think a little bit of that fire when it comes to celebrations. It's all friendly. We're here to enjoy this, but we are here to compete. These athletes are at a world championship. They want to win these games. Every game here matters, and they are definitely allowed to show that kind of celebration.
Plus, you know, no spiking, no damage to the disc. Maybe a little pride gets hurt, but that grows back. This is here, Rose Harvey. Wants it to Slater. Slater taking a long time to actually make a cut in a direction. Oh, and just a wrong guess from the defender. And one of the cannons on the GB side had an open look to the end zone, instead going and trying to find Ben Skelton. You know, for a dump cutter, they really make it hard for that young man to catch the disc. And the Dutch at 6-6 and a chance to take back serve, and it goes begging. Skelton, sick of people over and under throwing him, just decides to pick up the disc himself. A little bit of contact, running into the sizable form of Boas. So just a bit of conversation, it seems, between Boas and Skelton.
Foul accepted.
So what that will do is actually give Sarin a fresh 10 with the disc in hand following the accepted foul. Which must be so wonderful as a handler, just have somebody else reset your stall for you.
Yeah, the only problem here for Sarin, he's got 5 players behind the disc, only 1 in the end zone. I'd love to see him look for that end zone as an isolation with everyone else clearing through, but instead looking like he's going to opt for the reset, shut down well by the defenders.
Lots of faith in his handlers as well. Robertson, big layout block, and jumping up and screaming. Oscar Mulder, fantastic play, athletic as you like, and snapping out there to steal possession back.
That I absolutely love, Lorcan. Celebrate your Ds as much as you celebrate your scores.
Van den Brink back in to Bos. GB doing a good bit of chaos marking right now as they try to find their matchups. Van den Brink goes to De Roy. Phenomenal grab by the block getter Mulder. And now Mulder entering in a little bit of a partnership with Van den Brink, wants to send it back. And right now, it's the Ned X-Files for the break. 7-6, they go back up.
It was only a matter of time before this Dutch team was able to get a break back. This GB side had been giving them countless opportunity after opportunity, and finally this time they were able to clean up their execution and take advantage. And look at what it means to those players. Really big moment and absolutely incredible execution on the second time of asking.
So nice. A full display as well of the play across that. Some give-go as we've seen an awful lot of hucking so far. That was the overthrow. Van den Brink just making extra sure. And that was the overextension. Nearly tearing out his own arm to get that layout. And to be able to have that intensity following the block, but then that composure to set up Van den Brink right outside the end zone.
I think that's really key here, Lorcan. We've seen the Netherlands get these opportunities, but we haven't seen them have that composure. And on that one, finally settling. And I think that is something that can really carry some momentum into this next part of the game for them. See them just deciding what to do next. I think a timeout has been called here just before halftime. GB trying to maybe settle their offensive line. Hasn't been the cleanest of games from them so far, and maybe needing to give them a bit of a rest. We haven't seen much variation in the offensive line yet from GB either. A lot of the same players going out point after point, so maybe just taking this moment to get them a drink, put them back on the field.
See right there, the Dutch hydrating, coming in. Van den Brink having himself quite a performance, clearly a linchpin. The fans in the stands loving what they're seeing. We hope you're loving it at home, and if you want to see more of it, well, there's only one place to find it, and that's at ultiworld.com. Subscribe, see a history of ultimate told throughout intense matches just like this, from the youth level all the way up to the top level. And it comes in all kinds of languages, such as Dutch. There's a nice bit of intensity coming out here. A little bit of screaming you can see as Pierre Henroy makes his way to the line. That's the passion.
I think the Dutch team right now, Lorcan, look like they have a little bit more energy than this GB team. I know GB had a bit of a hard game in their match before this against Singapore. There was a long injury delay to one of the Singapore players who hopefully is doing okay now, but it did extend their game. It can be quite tiring to deal with those situations, and maybe just coming into this with a little bit lackluster energy, the Dutch really ramping up now here in this game.
As well, if you hadn't had the chance to see that Singapore team play, they play so quick. You see why they were so successful 2 years ago. They are lightning fast, and the legs really seem to start to run out a little bit for GB towards the end of that game, chasing around all those cutters. So a loud cheer. And Noah Brinkworth collects. Immediate feed and back from Harvey. Across Slater. Wants the deep shot. That cut started very, very deep by Tim Gower, so understandably Slater goes back to Brinkworth. Slater almost being marked out of it. Fantastic pressure from Derricks. Slater trying to find it across to Harvey, but they just couldn't get anything going. And now a chance for the Dutch to double their lead just as they head in, and instead it would seem that gravity had a vendetta against that disc. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Whitcomb there.
That is a gift back to this Great Britain offense here. They have really got away with that one. The previous play, Slater could have looked at Harvey actually a little bit earlier. I think turned and tried to rush that pass a little bit too much.
Center to Slater. Looking for cuts into the middle. Brinkworth taking advantage of the poach. Trying to steal a couple of yards down the sideline. No real cutters attacking the space immediately in front of him. Slater, Harvey, nice work by Harvey to take that step up the line. But again, the timing of the cutters just not quite there. You compare that to the offense of the Dutch. They're able to set up consistent under throughout their squad. Right now, GB just struggling to get a sequence of passes together. Harvey now through to the center. Brinkworth, the up-rushing position. Briefly into a power position. You see Whitcomb peeling off to limit further breaks. Harvey makes the cut back. Brinkworth doesn't like it. Looks to lead Sarin. Sarin able to get there just in front. Slater begging for it. Sarin says no twice. It's got to be more than 10 yards for him to be interested, apparently. Brinkworth wants to lead Sarin. Can't get there. Gower makes the cut under. Now Brinkworth with the inside-out backhand. Cut under coming in the form of Fries. Can't get free, and over the top to Slater instead. Around the undercut and to the back corner. Great Britain tie it up 7-7.
Yeah, the majority of the touches there running through Slater, Brinkworth, and Sarin. Rose Harvey getting involved a little bit on that point as well. But those three players have been really crucial to this GB squad so far, running the show on this offense, really, and maybe needing to get a few more of the players upfield involved still. There's only so much of a game that you can play with three players running the offense before they are going to run out of steam.
Well, right now, it's more like a locomotive, because Sarin has got plenty of energy as we see him getting big, assured cuts, confident hands. See why this young star is the only rookie on Clapham?
Yeah, one of the only new additions to the team. Clapham taking on board him as a player this year. He's only been playing for 3 years. I can't say it enough. Only 21 years old. I think Sarin is a player we're going to need to look out for years to come. He's done it on both sides of the disc, in the end zone receiving and assisting there, as well as keeping the disc alive on so many occasions.
So very much a talismanic leader for this GB side. I did want to just push back a little on what you were saying as we have 3 goals, 1 assist, involving over 50% of them. I think the Dutch female matching players' defense is so strong, the GB female matching players are really struggling to get free. And a lot of the times, even frees on that undercut, it was just a straight run at the handler. That's not going to help you escape these incredibly athletic Dutch women. Yeah,
I do think that's a really fair point. I think the Dutch women have really been playing tight back shoulder defense as well, so standing on the deep side of their player, but really pushing them under and making those windows look really, really tight, maybe making the thrower just overthink it slightly.
A couple of their handlers have fallen victim to that, where it's like that dump pass is open, but they hesitate because they think it has to be perfect, and normally when it needs to be perfect, I want to throw it as hard as possible. Which just doesn't quite work as the disc goes down the line. The Dutch want to take half. Van den Brink, an early stumble was quickly corrected, and right now they are in full flying form. Barduel, back to Van den Brink. Van den Brink throws it across. Hansma, who's been fantastic so far in this tournament. Hansma down the line to Tenkate. Tenkate, who helped steady that ship early on. Back to Van den Brink. Van den Brink for the swing all the way across. Barduel, and then Barduel feeds. There's a clamp coming, but it's oh so little, oh so late. Ime Hansma takes half, 8-7 to the Dutch.
Yeah, Georgie Jones tried to peel off on the play there, trying to help out on defense, but the efficiency from the Dutch there. We saw the play-saving grab from Barduel earlier in the point, and then clearing into the stack, she comes back under, and a nice touch throw in a tight window in for the goal. The Dutch taking half here. Lorcan, I am really impressed with how they have tightened up in the second part of this half.
So you can have a look here. It's the swinging, it's the support as well. Barduel, big layout grab. But they've been looking that bit more crisp. We will see how Great Britain respond on the other side, as right now the Dutch in full flight, 8-7 up.
The 2025 club season is upon us, and Ultiworld is bringing you all the action. Ultiworld is the best place for live video, news, highlights, and analysis of your favorite teams and players.
Scores again.
Make sure to subscribe for our extensive live coverage of the USAU club season, including the thrilling club championships in San Diego in October, exclusively on Ultiworld.
Welcome back, everybody, from half-time. We are just waiting to get started, but before that, we have an interview with one of the coaches for GB Mixed. Butterfly, thank you so much for joining us. First things first. Sorry. You opened the game up with a break. What were you saying to each other to try and marshal that consistency from then on?
Yeah, came out of the break. We had a bit of an emotional loss in the last game, but in this tournament, we've really started well, getting multiple breaks to start both of our first pool games. And we just said, we've done it before, we'll do it again, manufacture the energy out of the loss, and it's a new game, and they did exactly what we asked of them.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant to see that defensive intensity right off the bat. Butterfly, how are you going to shape up your offense going into the second half? Didn't have a lot of clean points in that first half. What are you going to say to your team to make those adjustments?
Yeah, I mean, this is a World Championship. Every team's going to be good. And the Dutch specifically, we know they're long, both in terms of for our cutters. The discs can't be behind them, otherwise there will be long arms reaching in to take it away. And as well for the forces, even if the cutters do a really good job, the forces are long, so it might be difficult to break the mark. But it just means we just got to trust in our systems, trust that we're also a talented team, and even if it means retaining possession and things opening up late for us, doing that. And if things get bogged down, we're one of the most athletic teams in my most humblest opinion. So if things get really bogged down, we'd rather turn over down there than turn over in our own end zone.
And speaking of turnovers, it seems like the Dutch offense is getting sharper and sharper throughout the game. You got any new ideas or a few tricks hidden away to try and disrupt that?
Oh, the coaching bag is deep, best believe me. We'll keep some of the stuff hidden. It'll be for the fans out there to try to dissect for themselves, or perhaps to figure out what went wrong if it does.
Well, that's part of the fun for us. Thank you so much for
taking
the time to talk to us.
Before we go, I just think it's really important to mention that as fun as we are having in Spain, there's much bigger problems in the world going out. Regardless of wherever you are, there's people right now, we're all waving flags, there's people literally fighting and dying for their flags. So I think it's just really important as Ultimate players who play at the elite level to recognise how lucky and privileged we are to be here. Having Frisbee problems is fantastic problems to have. So win, lose or draw, I'm extremely lucky and I'm extremely proud of my team. That's all. Thank you, folks.
And we consider ourselves very lucky to be here and enjoying such top quality Ultimate. Brought to you by Ultiworld. As we have a quick look at the stats, it's been a quite close run affair, Becky.
Yeah, you can see in the stats, 12 turnovers apiece, 1 break each. But the Netherlands, Lorcan, the story for me, 9 break chances to Great Britain's 4. And I think that's what we've seen. Their defensive line hasn't been as efficient when they've got those offensive possessions. They were making a few unforced errors, so cleaning up their defensive offense will be really crucial to convert on those breaks.
As we have a quick look, even with that tail of the stats, you could tell only 2 clean holds for GB. The Dutch defensive pressure has been consistent. And some big plays. Tenkate leading from the front. Things were a little shaky at the start. She really held steady. The offense, and on the other side for GB, Saren has been incredible.
Saren has been a game changer in this match so far, Lorcan. Getting the chance to see some of his creative throwing options there, as well as the ability to do on both sides of the disc. Mulder on that one coming through with a big layout for the Netherlands. This has been an absolute fest for us to watch. Athletic plays on both sides of the disc for both teams, and it is too close to call at this stage.
And who would want to call it? Well, right now we're going to get a quick call in with one of the coaches for the Netherlands, U24. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey.
First things first, what were you saying after the initial stumble? Because it seems you're getting better the more this game goes on.
Oh, we got this game. Like, obviously. Like, we were ready. We have an initial stumble. We know we're going to get it back. So we're all good.
Going into the second half, Rana Saren for GB has been really impactful, number 2. Do you have any ideas of how you might stop his momentum in the second half of this game?
Yeah, we're having our women help out a bit, and we're trying some zone looks and changing up the force a bit, and we have our eyes on him, so we'll figure out the matchup to win it.
And finally, as you're trying to carry things out, would you share any of those secrets for the defensive looks you plan to still unleash upon them?
The secrets for defensive looks. I think GB will have to experience it for themselves. I'm sure you'll be excited about what's going to happen.
Well, it's always fun to try and puzzle this out for the audience at home. Thank you so much for joining us. U24, one of the coaches for this Netherlands side, who are managed to take back serve just in time. And now 8-7 up. GB receiving the disc to start the second half. And it opens with a hand block. Fantastic stuff straight away. Stair de Roy getting the block. on Rose Harvey.
Maybe what Butterfly was talking about at halftime there, about the Dutch having really long arms on those forces. De Roy reading that one all the way.
And here come the Dutch. The confidence of youth has to be noted. Oh no, we've got this. They have faith. They're going to send it and trusting in it. I think that's a double happiness. Yes, it is. There, De Roy with the hand block and following it up with the grab on the hook. Netherlands double their lead, 9-7.
It's what we call bookends in this sport, Lorcan. Like you said, double happiness. De Roy on the hand block, the score in the end zone as well. And the Netherlands starting off with a lot of intensity. We'll get another look here. Just followed that one all the way as GB were looking for a high release option, and then immediately going back the other way to score in the end zone. Defenders not close. Saren tried to make a last-minute effort on that one, and the big spike after that. That is crucial, getting a break right out of half. That can really change the momentum of this second half of the game.
An early shot to the jaw of GB. How will they respond? They had the ever so slight edge earlier on in the game, but the Dutch just seem to be sharpening up throughout it. Bearing in mind, this is the most challenging game they've had so far, taking on what I think it's reasonable enough to say are the weaker two teams in the pool previously, Hong Kong and Colombia. Whereas GB obviously having that, although briefly delayed, very intense game against Singapore, which on the one hand can help sharpen you up, on the other hand maybe tire you out a little bit. The Dutch are taking their pace as it comes in this tournament and proving that they are not to be overlooked by anyone else as we work towards the power pools. Harvey looks to get that break. It's a lovely high release break over the shorter mark, this time in the form of Zhu. Goes back to Harvey. And another high release break. She's very comfortable with that throw. Saren not able to get the dump to Harvey. Goes back into the center instead. Finds the form of Robertson. Down the line. Gonzalez goes back to Saren. Gonzalez clears out. Harvey comes into the center. Gonzalez makes another move. Harvey looks for her. Finds her. Just inside the brick mark of the Dutch. This is much calmer than we've seen previously. Gower collects. Has the option to throw it onto Fries. Doesn't take it recklessly. Instead, quick move down the line by Robertson to clear out the defense. Harvey comes back. Push pass to Saren. He has to jump backwards to catch it. Right outside the end zone. Pressure mounting. Harvey. Quick skip cut. Doesn't like that front corner shot. Does like that break side throw to Gonzalez. And it's 9-7.
I think that is some of the best mixed ultimate we have seen from this GB side in this game so far. Gonzalez, Robertson, Rose Harvey running the show on that point. So maybe some adjustments that the GB team made at halftime to recognize that we were playing a little bit afraid under the pressure of that Dutch defense, but we know how we can play, and really stepping up here. The nice stutter step cut there from Harvey. Love to see those connections. I think that is something that they can really build on here going forward.
And it showed another side to the GB offense. Much more calm, much more working through the center. Happy to just push out to the swing sides and then strike back through the middle. They're recognizing this is a big moment in the game. Effectively falling there now 2 breaks behind. No, technically the breaks are 2-1 if you do start on offense and you're not able to take a lead into half, or defense are not able to take a lead into halftime, you're effectively a breakdown. For any of the newer viewers who are joining us on YouTube, of course, a break is when you start on defense, get possession off the other team and score. As here come the Dutch. If they can hold serve and hold nerve, they'll be in a commanding position to take the top spot in this pool. Singapore still ahead of them. Hansma. Vandenbrink. Swing across. Not trying to force too much stuff as Tom Jansen makes the cut up the field now. Hansma starting to get things going. Vandenbrink, he has Jansen, doesn't want to force that, instead takes the more available swing back in. Barduel, a little bit of a low throw, but ready for it, and now sent down the line. Tinkata Big shot, lots of white jerseys, and that was always going to be a difficult one with that many defenders in the region. So GB get possession. Can they score with it? Quick moves, not going anywhere, leading to a high stall count, and the scuba over the top, bobbled. Van den Brink walking back to pick it up. That's a good dump initially, well shut down by the first looks of the GB defense. Hansma taking the big swinging flick all the way across to Barduel. And fantastic grab by Janssen. Arms out in front, any closer to the chest and it would have been blocked. Hansma outside the end zone. Wants Van den Brink. Happy to sacrifice some yards to get the disc to him. Tenkate swinging around, picking it up and shooting, but overshooting to the end zone. And Hansma can't get there, so another chance for GB.
Just a little bit rushed on that throw from Tenkate. Saw the option going in the end zone, and just before that, Lorcan, I was thinking about how good a job the Netherlands were doing of being really patient, swinging it and resetting and not trying to force that pass in for the goal. And then unfortunately on that one, just a little bit carried away as GB go all the way back the other way. And a huge grab coming down with that one, and then dished in for the goal. That is a massive break here for Great Britain. Teo Lowe with the massive grab. Unbelievable, Sky. And then the goal. Incredible stuff there, Lorcan.
Yeah, Teo Lowe getting very, very high to bring that one down. When that first hook went up, I just thought, maybe not, but showing off the war wounds, showing how in this game they are. I mean, 9-9, responding with a break, almost immediately back. The little brace response. I love to see that kind of mentality as well as physicality from these sides. Let's have another look at that one.
Please follow me.
So this is the first throw from Tenkate. Very well D'd up by Pickup. The scuba, and that was great defensive pressure that led to that little bit of a desperation throw. Then you see Piggott get into the power position, trusts his receiver, and you think, that's a lot of trust. That's a lot of justification.
Caught that one as he was coming back down, Lorcan. Almost jumped a little bit early and watched the disc fall into his hands, assisting to Naman Patel for the goal. But Teo Lowe, that's what we call levitating when he did that. He was floating in the air as he came down with that Frisbee.
Dancing on the clouds and bringing it down. So now 9-9, and here comes a big raucous GB chase on the pull onto the end zone line. Hansma goes back to Van den Brink. Van den Brink swings across, waiting for him. Janssen, and then looking to lead. It's a huge layout grab to save possession. Could he have just let Barduel catch it? Maybe, but that's not going to get you on Instagram. Van den Brink, big throw all the way around, taken in by Haspik. Haspik fakes a little pop pass to make sure that the rest of the defenders keep going. I love that action. There's going to be a stoppage on the play as it returns to Van den Brink in the center of the pitch.
I believe an injury call on the play. Hensma coming off after making that huge layout grab that he maybe didn't have to do. Barduel was waiting in that space. Get another look at it here. Barduel waiting to catch it. Hensma absolutely flew. I mean, it looked beautiful, Lorcan, but maybe not quite worth the injury at this point in the game.
No, when they clip that, they're going to show it from the other angle. The one that doesn't just have Barduel standing there a little perplexed. Honestly, I liked it. I thought it was worth it.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of, you need that mentality. There's no way he knew Barduel was there. He thought, if I don't lay out for this and make this play 4 foot off the ground, it's going to be a turnover in a very tight game. Most important game they played so far in this tournament. The poach D arriving too late. Ferrix collects, sends it down the line. It's quickly flowing through the Dutch. Barduel gets the pop back to Bose. Bose gets to Van den Brink. Van den Brink back to Bose. Bose back to Van den Brink. Van den Brink on the brink of getting a score and pushing that lead out to 10-9 with the blade over the top of the defender, the force, and past them. That's a little bit of that indoors the Dutch love to play.
Yeah, creative shot choice there from Van den Brink, but it pays off on this occasion. I like the change in defense from the GB team over the last couple points. We've seen them come down with that zone look and really try to push the Dutch team very wide, as we saw with that catch from Hansma as well. It is being effective. I think you need to continue to apply a little bit more pressure to some of those throwers on the force, getting a little bit too many easy passes. But this game, Lorcan, is an absolute barn burner as we see that creative throw there into the end zone.
Sometimes those are known as blades. I think when it's that short a distance, you call it a shiv. Just in between the ribs of the GB defense, and holding on to the lead, 10-9 to the Netherlands. What we've seen is a real mixture of the offensive styles both teams have in this second half. It was an awful lot of big shots, big grabs in the first half, and we've had a smattering of those. We've also had quite a few playing through the center, like you see, finding those gaps on the wings and just continuous quick pass play, rotating through the squads. With the Dutch getting out a bit of sweeping. That man himself, Van den Brink, has been very impressive throughout this game. Levistro with the pull. Siren with the reception. Gets across to Slater. Back into the middle, collected by Gonzalez. The cuts are good, but there's too many of them all at once, and it's just shutting down all these options. The air rises that disc high, but great presence of mind from Ellie Slade, not to get dissuaded by the elements. Stayed focused. Swing back in the center. Freeze. Across. Slater. Into the center. Confident take. Maybe overconfident take by Slade the second time.
Yeah, that one just off the hands of Ellie Slade. Attacked it with one hand, maybe could have gone with two.
That's the fear the Dutch defense puts in you. You're talking about them being on your shoulder. You think you have to go full extension. De Roy makes the deep cut. Instead they opt to go under. Nicely taken in and led, looking for De Roy. Bose feeds it. Oh, instead it's taken down by Plo.
Plo coming in almost out of nowhere. Gonzalez was in the space, but Plo said, no, this is my disc. I'm going to take control of this moment. And that is another huge break for the Netherlands, responding to Great Britain's break with a hold and a break of their own. Late stages of this game, Lorcan, this is when these breaks really start to add up and the pressure really falls on the shoulders of the GB team.
They respond to a brace with one of their own. As you see, just the disappointment, almost the disbelief. And then here's Bose sitting down. The amount of air bounce backhand inside out leading passes I've seen thrown in this game, probably more than I've seen throughout the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, there have definitely been a few, but I have to say, especially in the last kind of quarter of this game, we've seen those leading passes from the Netherlands be really, really effective, and I think be a really big reason why they are now in the position that they are. They're not necessarily going for those 70-yard full field hucks, but they're looking for 30, 40-yard leading passes, and they're executing them really well.
That's a difficult recipe to stop. I always think you just take a little bit off your hucks, treat them as leading passes, and then get comfortable running a dump reset outside the end zone, and you will be fine. So many times, the bigger a throw becomes, the bigger the mistakes within it become. So right now, we'll see how many mistakes are left in GB. They're going to need to be near perfect as they try to fight their way back into this game. 11-9 down. Noah Brinkworth leading Harvey. Harvey very quickly getting that disc along to Goer. Back to Harvey in the center. Brinkworth calls for it, but was not free. And fantastic presence of mind by Gonzalez to hold on to that disc. The pressure was coming quickly from Kreinfeld. Harvey near sideline. Goer wants to get it back into the middle, not really looking anywhere else except down the line. Just enough float, and it's slightly too far ahead of Gonzalez. I was ready to blow out this microphone.
I thought Gonzalez was going to get to that one. Lorcan was tracking it all the way. You can see this disc just flying slightly too far, maybe only just realizing she was going to have to bid at the last second and just carried a little bit too far out of her reach.
So now the Dutch with a chance to head into the second heat break, 3 points up A big moment. Van den Brink. Goer takes another huge layout, but not able to get there in time. Van den Brink nearly breaks his own ankle stopping there. Massive fake. Saren bites. There's the swing to Zoo. Back to Van den Brink. Zoo keeps going, wants the leading pass. Gets it. No immediate cuts in front of her. Van den Brink. A little bit of hopscotch behind, trying to get free against Saren. Does so. Those two players I imagine we'll see matching up against each other for another decade. Van den Brink. The short shimmy blade behind. Into the arms of Witcomb. Witcomb all the way across. And another backhand fake that works on me if nobody else. Schneider. Back to Van den Brink. Goer is taking a leaf out of the Dutch playbook. Van den Brink collects it again. Quick, no pivot, backhand break all the way to the opposite side. Witcomb, Van den Brink, so it's a lot of swinging until the big deep shot, looking for the power position all the way downfield. Kreinfeld can't get there. Brinkworth with the help defense. And between Brinkworth and Harvey, no go.
Brinkworth peeled off Witcomb on that one, read that huck really, really well, and that is something you want to see your players able to recognize when those deep shots are coming and you're able to peel off and play help defense. That is really crucial and a really important block here for Great Britain.
Excellent help defense from Brinkworth. Kind of got to go the other way, and when we're talking about the Dutch team almost coming together as the game went on, there have been these patches, these missteps from GB. This is still their offensive hold. They're not holding on to that disc for very long. An absolute cannon launched from Saren. But the nearest person in the end is the Dutchman, Maurice Witcomb.
And this time it was Witcomb peeling off Brinkworth on the opposite side. Gonzalez was going, but Witcomb was always in that space, and unfortunately the throw from Saren just not close enough to Gonzalez.
Well, Van den Brink launching one, looking for a battle downfield. Lots of people there, and again Brinkworth able to get there first. Throws the Harry's backhand across the goer, and Brinkworth takes off down the pitch. They centre instead. Fries has Harvey to one side, has Goer directly in front, also has Brinkworth, sends it to Brinkworth. Big bid, but nothing coming for Witcomb. Brinkworth wants to launch it. It's another inside-out backhand scoop. Gower goes, gets, and brings it one within 11-10.
Absolutely fantastic play. You can hear the Great Britain teammates yelling, that's you, to Noah Brinkworth there. He had a fantastic point, taking care of the disc defensively for this Great Britain offensive line, getting it back, earning them the opportunity to get this hold. Again, it was a hold, but you see him there, big sky, and then able to throw a nice quick high release, the huck here for the goal. Big shot, but a really good angle on the disc to be able to read that as well. It's really hard as a defender when the disc is angling in over your head, and really well read there by Great Britain.
In an even battle, you will never win jumping up, going backwards into a jump compared to going forwards into a jump. As we see Noah Brinkworth, 2 blocks, 3 assists. Both those blocks coming on that point, I think, is worth taking note of. Very much an offensive player for this GB side, frequently playing in the linchpin role alongside Harvey. I think kind of switching it about with the other one. I mean, sometimes it's been Saren coming back to help. Sometimes there's been a few other ones stepping in. We've seen Slater take up the mantle, Pigot as well.
Yeah, Saren really playing a bit of a hybrid role, I think, here for this GB team. We've seen him in the handler space and in the cutting lanes. Now a chance for GB looking for a break here to tie it up.
They can certainly get the disc off the Dutch, but can they hold their own nerve and their own offense? Things getting ever so slightly close. It goes to Hansma. And there's a violation, a travel called, which would go some way to explain why Van den Brink is at free. Really starting to see the Dutch contract their lines a little.
Yeah, we have definitely started to see that. The likes of Van den Brink staying on the pitch quite a bit. Witcomb as well. Ten Kate out there as well, and Janssen. It's been interesting to see how this game has developed, Lorcan, but with only 23 minutes left until cap, this game 11-10 for the Netherlands. Get another chance to see this travel. There was a little bit of a jump, maybe didn't fully establish his pivot foot, but hard to see how that might have affected the play. I'm not sure it did, but I can see why there might have been a call. There was some movement of the feet.
It was a pretty big sidestep. I think it was because...
So from my perspective, I didn't think there was a trouble.
Okay. Not bad. Faster.
All right, well, again, very spirited. Sam O'Connor.
Talked about tightening up lines there as well for the Dutch team. I do wonder when we'll start to see the likes of Saren crossing over to the D-line here for this GB team as well. We haven't seen that yet in this game.
Vandenbrink. And there you can see the waving arms of Lowe, but not able to dissuade Janssen. For all his flapping, she remains unflappable. Barduel, brilliant grab, high release. Janssen, full extension, quick swing back across. Now we're here on the near side. We know Hansma not afraid to put it. The shoulder shimmy, shake to get free. Gets it across to Vandenbrink, puts the big hammer up. Wants Janssen. But just too hot, two-handed.
Janssen trying to reel that one in. I'm sure she'll want that one back, Lorcan. It was a little bit low. It was fading very quickly towards the floor. Wasn't able to hang on to it. As you see, Vandenbrink looking for a wide open Janssen, and just as it came down, just slipped through her hands.
So now GB in their own end zone. Big leading pass, but just rising too high and off the outstretched fingers of Leanne Holmes. So the Dutch will get it back. Vandenbrink taking that long, lonely walk. As O'Connor might be in step, but is not onside. Will be doing everything in his power to stop the Dutch punching this in and taking the heat break with a 2-point lead. Vandenbrink wants it. Big arcing pass, help arriving. And that is going to be caught almost at the exact same time. I'm going to need to see a replay. I don't know if Georgie Jones was the first one with that or it was Barduel.
I think Georgie Jones might have just had the position to be just in front of Barduel, but we need to see this one again, Lorcan.
So from my perspective, both catches occurred at the same time.
And so the outcome is then
Stands with offense.
So Jette Barduel.
In which case, if it was both at the same time,
And Georgie Jones, very spirited, accepting the advisor's position and saying, fine, both of you think it was at the same time. Almost impossible to tell. The problem is, if you are that defender, you can kind of feel it. You can't make that point, because that's a very hard thing to illustrate, but you can kind of feel it. The same way you can feel if you strip someone or not.
Yeah, just getting another shot of it there. Freeze frame. Does actually look to me, Lorcan, like Georgie Jones might have got a hand onto that disc, but it's really hard to tell who established control. It's not just the first person to obviously touch the disc, have to establish control of the disc, and we have the benefit of seeing that in freeze frame slow-mo replay. The players and the advisors, of course, can't see that. So I think a fair outcome there. Georgie Jones did such a good job of catching up yards there to Barduel as well, but Barduel very calm under the pressure of the defense.
Very calm under the pressure of a lot of things. The moment, and of course the opportunity here at the World Championships. Big grab, well made, so they can secure the 2-point lead as they head into the second heat break of the game. It must be said though, this game is far from without faults, and there's still plenty of room for GB to fight their way back into it. But there's only one way to find out if they can do so, and that's here at Ultiworld. As right now, it is Netherlands 12, Great Britain 10.
2025 club season is upon us, and Ultiworld is bringing you all the action. Ultiworld is the best place for live video, news, highlights, and analysis of your favorite teams and players.
Scores again.
Make sure to subscribe for our extensive live coverage of the USAU club season, including the thrilling club championships in San Diego in October, exclusively on Ultiworld.
Welcome back, everybody, to the free game on YouTube here from the World Ultimate Under-24 Championships. And what a barnstormer we have for you. We welcome you from all over the world here to beautiful, sunny Logroño, Spain, as we're watching Great Britain take on the Netherlands. They are 2 points down coming out of the final heat break of the match, which means the Netherlands very much in the driver's seat as they are about to give the disc down to this GB O-line.
The Netherlands looking to take a win here to give themselves a chance of taking first spot in this pool. They still have Singapore left to play later, but GB still have something to say about that here, Lorcan.
As fielding the disc, real leader for this side, Noah Brinkworth. He's been working well with Harvey all game long. It's a bit of a call for violation.
I think maybe a bit of a power line here on offense actually for this Great Britain team. Maybe the first one we've seen coming out. Got the legs of Flavel on disc coming over from the D-line, looking to maybe take control, help with the offensive movement, and make sure they get this hold.
They're also going 2-5, which to me always says we back our athletes. We think in a straight foot race they're going to be able to come out on top with a single turn. There's the throw inside, but couldn't make it to Saren or Harvey. Instead, it's intercepted. Big shot right back. But that's what happens when you go with a power O-line. Flavel immediately stole that all the way back. It was an impressive defensive play. Took position even immediately. Took possession shortly thereafter.
Shout out to Emil Bose on that one as well. He looked like he could have maybe gone in and made a play, but maybe not done it safely without making contact, because Flavel got in front, got up first to that disc.
Yeah.
And what a way to earn that one back.
From my perspective, from down there, I thought she was very close to the line. I can't tell if it was like right on the line, but if you feel that
you see Bose did actually pull out slightly of that one there. Flavel taking it back, because there's a slight discussion about a travel call, maybe where Flavel established her pivot foot after the restart, and it's been retracted, so the disc will stay in the hands of Rose Harvey.
Quick shout out to Yelta Dirks as well for getting that initial interception. An understandable shot. They love those high release backhands, floating them into the end zone. Trust their receivers, but they just weren't ready for the force that is Flavel. Harvey swings. Slater, I almost guarantee you that flick hook was coming. Saren's underneath it. The help arriving, just bouncing outside of his fingers. It's going to be a call. He did not like the contact from Derricks.
Be interested to see a replay of this one, Lorcan. I do think that there was contact, but Dirks in front of Saren here. You can see where the arm did come over, maybe making contact with the neck of Saren. I'm not sure how much it affected the outcome of the play. The disc was sailing over their heads a little bit, and Saren did have a chance to still make a play, but you can see the contact.
Are you saying that because I jumped up? Wait, can you tell the call to him?
So I think what happened is when I jumped, I got his arm, it hit my face, and then I couldn't read the disc.
Okay.
And my perspective is that we were both boxing out the disc.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped straight up in the air, and he just runs a bit into me, jumped straight and hit my arm. But my arm is in the place because I jumped straight up.
Okay.
Is it a foul then?
So I can't see where the arm's contacted, but I can tell that as you jumped, you moved slightly backwards.
towards him.
Sorry, towards the place that he was already in.
Can I ask him?
You can do, yeah. Okay, so you've got multiple perspectives here, guys. I feel like you've got enough to decide this.
I've made my argument.
Okay, so I think we're contesting and sending back. Yeah, okay. So it's a foul, contest, disc is going back, and do we know what
the disc will be sent back here? And I shout out here to Sarah, and he did actually read that disc quite well. He got a hand to it as well, Lorcan. You and I were looking at each other during the replay of that foul call, and there was very much an arm that went into Sarah's face as he went to make the catch.
Yeah, Derek's doing an impression of a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing Dutchman. A little bit on that one, but in his mind you're just trying to know where the offender is, and then you're trying to go vertically up to take it down. Understandable position to have. A lot of the times I've seen replays of myself and realized, oh no. So it does go back to Jack Slater. Loves a big flick shot, not unlike senior mixed player Josh Briggs. Centered, Harvey. Flavel. Big cut under. And again, not able to take the follow-up pass because of the Dutch presence on the back shoulders. These cutters, Brinkworth in the center, goes instead to Harvey. Harvey on a bit of an island. Slater doing everything he can to come back and offer something, forced to throw one up and getting down. Sarin collects the disc and immediately calls an injury.
Yeah, Sarin maybe taking a little bit of a knock on the turf there after he made that grab. Like you said, Rose Harvey completely left alone in that space, being forced to throw one out and just maybe making tough contact with the ground. A little bit knocked up on that one.
I believe that's Goer who's come on. Tim Goer? No, forgive me. Ben Skelton. Yeah, Ben Skelton. Harvey. Slater once again in that power position, once again launching the big flick hook. This time he's looking downfield for Goer, who can't get there in time after a game filled with massive highlight plays. I thought that was a sure thing.
Goer has been brilliant in that deep space, but Oscar Mulder has been doing his most on defense, doing the most on defense, I should say. He has been challenging on those plays with layout blocks in the deep space as well, and maybe just putting enough pressure on Goer to make that catch really difficult.
That's an excellent point, the pressure coming from the incredible defensive force that is Oscar Mulder. 2 blocks already in this game. Now the Dutch retain possession. Van den Brink, 2 cuts to the backside, Stead going with a brilliant throw all the way around and well taken in. Vives throw, although there's a goal.
Looks like a foul called in the build up to that cut up line. Rose Harvey signaling that she might have just got a little push.
How would you like to resolve this? That's a retracted call. Disc stays here.
It's a retracted call. Disc is going to stay with Liviesto. Harvey's going to try and close that gap. This was a elite, a strong O-line that Great Britain sent out to try and hold on to this possession and get this crucial point. Giving it up. Can they earn it back? Van den Brink with a big swing to the remarkably free Cowmans, who tries to throw it, but just a bit too far. And look, I like Mulder, but some things are impossible. Harvey. Skelton. That's a low one and asking a lot of Slater. Goes back to Mulder. Mulder with a nice throw into space and a quick up-rushing play. Linking up well with Plough and then continuing along. Wants to get it back. Derricks Back to Mulder. He went every second past taking it over and finishing with a shot to De Roy.
That is a huge break here for the Netherlands. 13-10 with the clock winding down. And like you mentioned on that point, Lorcan, a slightly stacked O-line from the GB squad. That is a real backbreaker at this stage in the game.
A little bit of it, maybe Skelton coming in slightly cold, coming in for the injury for Saren, but a bit too low for Slater. But huge credit has to be given to Oscar Mulder, as you might be able to hear in the background some of those MVP chants echoing around this stadium, taking over that point, going every second pass. I know Plo was involved at one point, Van den Brink also, and of course finishing off in the hands of De Roy. But ultimately that was all about Oscar Mulder.
Yeah, Mulder has been really impressive to watch in this game. He's brought a lot of intensity, a lot of energy. You've seen a couple times on the sideline, he's always the first person pumping up his teammates as well. He's brought a lot of the vibes that we talk about to this game here, keeping the team going and energized when it is hot and it is tiring at the end of these crucial moments. So really impressive stuff from him to bring that intensity on and off of the pitch.
13-10. GB having a little bit of a chin wag. They are still in position to make the power pools, but there's a big difference between making the power pools as a second seed and making them as a third seed. And that difference is may define whether or not you make quarterfinals. And for the teams who are in that second tier who realize maybe at our absolute best we might be able to steal a medal, but quarterfinals is where they aim. Both these teams continue to battle it out. Pass down the line, taking it to Slater, who rips a backhand. No flick this time. He's got it on both sides and all the way into the end zone. Phenomenal acrobatic grab by Johnny Lawrence.
An incredible grab there, and fantastic to see a couple other players cross over from the D-line. Maybe a little bit of fresh legs there from Lawrence, cutting deep to the end zone, coming down with that grab. A chance now for Great Britain to get their defense back on the field. They need a run of breaks. We'll get a chance to see this one again. The massive huck there, all the way into the back corner. Lawrence coming down with it. Just flew for that one.
Something of a flying British man. I was actually wondering once he landed, is there any chance that disc touched down out of bounds? But no, absolutely perfect positioning and form. A swan dive, and something for you to share with the teams back home if you happen to be a coach. That is layout form. And that is how you rise to the occasion, coming on for his first goal of the game, like you say, coming over from the D-line to provide those fresh legs, that little boost of energy. Great Britain, they still need 3 breaks to get back into this matchup. Would you like to see him do anything differently defensively, Becky?
I think at this point it's about disconnecting the Dutch players from their handlers to their cutters. We've seen them be so efficient when they're able to make those big shapes upfield, when they're hitting the legs of Tenkate and Bordel as well. So I'd like to see them really try to stifle that a bit more, get under them. We know that they like those leading shots, but maybe rely a little bit more on forcing them either into big hucks or into tight, small spaces.
Van den Brink fields, gets the quick swing across to Janssen. We'll see how much space they can find. Barduel in acres of it. Of course, that is where she tends to find herself. Van den Brink, big swing all the way around, but a miscommunication, and if anything, that leg touch from Piggott made the disc more likely to be caught, but... Oh, forgive me, that wasn't Piggott, that was Tom Kittle.
Van den Brink there looked like he made up his mind where he was going to throw it before actually double checking that his receiver was ready on that one.
So GB near the sideline. They hear the music. Will they dance? Big swing all the way back across, and 2 players getting in the way, and Holmes not able to get their Flavo either. They blocked each other, and all the way down on the other side of the pitch for the goal. Levi Gasbeek. That is a heartbreaker.
That is devastating for Flavel and Holmes. You can see the disappointment on Flavel's face there. Just didn't realize that Holmes was also in that space. Something you never want to see is D's coming from your own teammates effectively, just not communicating with each other. Flavel thinking she had to make a play, and the Netherlands this time taking full advantage, immediately reacting, streaking to the end zone for the goal and extending their lead. Game point now here for the Netherlands.
Janssen with the shot. Janssen has just been incredible throughout this match. One of those players who's just put in work consistently. You can see the 2 assists, but what isn't told there is how many times she keeps the flow of the team going, just coming down on those unders. The amount of times that she's there for the hockey assist, the handlers get it moving a little bit. Next thing, it's a 20-30 meter gain to a wide open under Janssen, who just turns around and keeps it going. That is the exact kind of cog you need. The kind of cog that can operate under intense pressure will define how likely you are to win a quarterfinal, should you be lucky enough to make it. So, Great Britain with a slight shot to the foot, but still plenty of running in him. Rose Harvey gets things going, has Slater in the power position, feeds him, and immediately looking for another massive flick hook, sitting it out there, but Goer gives up on that one. It was never coming back inbounds. So you can see GB coming out with an immediate drawn-up play, but Slater, who has been on point and at the point of attack for this GB side throughout the game, perhaps a bit of weariness coming in. There's a huge hook all the way right back down the pitch and perfectly into the outstretched arms and chasing body of Yelp. Derricks for the win, 15-11. The Dutch are flying high.
You can see what it means to them here. They have solidified their spot in the top 2 of this pool, which is crucial going into the power pools, trying to solidify themselves a spot in the quarterfinals as well. Absolutely incredible scenes. Look at them. This is the World Championships, Lorcan. This is what it means. Every win, so important. And Oscar Mulder, what an incredible performance from him.
Giroud, Leon Mulder just having a big old tongue out celebration, and you got to give credit Mulder as an emotional leader when he went all those second passes when they needed it. Right there, Derricks, fantastically done. A lot of heart. An immediate apology attempted by Pickett. He recognizes that was a little bit risky. I'm very sorry. And understandably at that point, Derricks had other much more important things on his mind, like celebrating with his team. This is a massive win for a Dutch side that has some quiet but high ambitions. I mean, not too quiet if we remember how you spoke to us at the halftime interview. So let's just have a quick look at these game stats. It was close throughout. GB just giving up their advantage towards the end of the second half. A lot of turnovers, a lot of them going back and forth, but very surprised to see the poor conversion rate.
Yeah, Great Britain just, I think, not executing enough throughout this game, Lorcan. They had plenty of opportunities, a few too many execution errors, and I think you mentioned it earlier in the game, it really is credit to the defensive pressure that the Netherlands was putting on across the board, really shutting down those undercuts, making the windows really tight and hard to throw into, and a very well-deserved victory here for the Netherlands.
One that will carry them forward, as they have got quite a difficult game ahead of them tomorrow as they battle for the top spot against Singapore. That'll be a real clash of styles.
Yeah, Netherlands leading the group right now. Singapore still have to play Colombia as well, but that game, last game of the day tomorrow, should be a cracker.
Now you want to talk about style, how about we go with one of the most stylish players, styling and or profiling out there on the pitch. Oscar Mulder, thank you so much for joining us. The first question I have to ask, where do you get your energy from?
Honestly, this game, it's the team. We're really happy to be here. We're all really working for each other. So just seeing that team come to us every point, that's really motivating.
How do you keep yourself focused in these kinds of games? You know how important it is getting yourself to the top spot in this pool. What are you saying to yourself throughout the match?
It's kind of a mix between fight as hard as you can and a little bit more. And as soon as we get that break, slow it down, keep it clean, and just look for those open options.
As you look forward tomorrow, this was a game of big shots, big hooks, and a lot of fantastic grabs. Your two opponents, Colombia, Singapore, play a very different style. How are you going to prepare for those games?
I think we're a really tall team. We got some of the tallest players here, I think. So we're ready. If they want to keep throwing those hooks, we're going to keep contesting them. We're going to keep fighting. And I think the way we switch up our play style is really going to get us far here.
Well, you mentioned getting far here. How far can this team go in this tournament?
The goal for us, we set, was top 8, and I think we'll get there. We'll see how far we can push it, but top 8 is definitely on the cards here.
Well, after a performance like that, I'd have to say we agree with you here in the booth. Thank you so much for joining us, Oscar, and again, well done. A brilliant performance for everybody watching at home as well, as this game went out live on YouTube. Remember, if you want to see the rest of the action throughout the rest of the week, you need to subscribe to Ultiworld. It's the only place to see these kinds of gunslingers go at it, but there's so many styles, so much going on, and nowhere else to see it, as we saw GB actually break out to an early lead before a close run affair, and then that man himself, Oscar Mulder, getting the block, but was far from the only one. Great plays across the team, huge hucks, chase it down, fantastic grabs. That time low got very high. Slater, so reliable goer, getting big time and time again, but not always working out as the Dutch pulled away further and further towards the end of the game. But we're far from the end of the week, so there's only one place to see the action. That's here at Ultiworld, and we will see you next catch time. Same Catch Channel.